Welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies Flashback. Today, of course, we're taking a look back in 1988, and we have the first Friday of November, 1988, November 4th, and we've got 4 movies to look at today, so let's not waste any more time, let's just get right to it, and we'll get to, first off, the most notable film that came out this weekend, the movie that opened at number 1, John Carpenter's They Live.
What are these things want, and why are they here? They're running the whole show.
I don't know what they are or where they came from, but we gotta stop them. Lying to the truth.
Got one that can see.
Look at them, they're everywhere.
From John Carpenter. They Live. Rated R.
Based off the short story from 1963, 8 O'Clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson, you have Roddy Piper, Keith David, and Meg Foster, as the film follows an unnamed drifter played by Piper, who discovers through special sunglasses that the ruling class are aliens, concealing their appearances and manipulating people to consume, breathe, and conform to the status quo via subliminal messages in mass media. Clearly, this is something that clearly has not happened in the 35 years since this movie come out, but of course it has. Why? Because why not? I mean, this is a film that Carpenter has stated that the themes of They Live stem from his dissatisfaction with the economic policies of the then President Ronald Reagan, as well as what Carpenter saw as increasing commercialism in both pop culture and politics. And again, never happened after this point afterwards, and of course it did, but who am I kidding? This was actually the number 1 movie, and it received negative reviews at times. They lambasted the social commentary, the writing and acting, but it has gone on to have a cult following and have a more significant critical reception because, of course, this stuff has happened more and more in real life, and is now regarded as one of Carpenter's best films, which Carpenter was making a ton of great stuff back around this time period that wasn't given the proper respect it deserved, but man, like, around this time, he made stuff like The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, Christine, Starman, Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, this guy was on a roll in the 1980s, and Prince of Darkness was probably his worst film, but it still wasn't bad overall. But this film is amazing. This film is a ton of fun. Roddy Piper just fits this role so well here, and I mean, come on, man. I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum, and they just start shooting aliens at a bank. It's just like, come on, man! Like him and Kevin and Keith David having that fight in the alleyway is just—it's one of the best. It's a movie that's so much fun. I mean, it's a 6-minute scene where they're brawling in an alley, and it's one of the best fight scenes you'll ever see. Now, if South Park is making parodies involving this, I mean, you know you have reached a higher point than what this movie was originally intended to. And what more do I have to say, man? This is a great film. They Live. If you haven't seen it, seek it out now. I mean, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not checking this one out. So that is John Carpenter's They Live. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is the concert film U2 Rattle and Hum.
Friday, November 4th. U2 Rattle and Hum, rated PG-13. The movie opens Friday, November 4th at theaters everywhere.
So U2 Rattle and Hum was based off of the recent album they had just put out, the same name, and they actually put it together. A concert film directed by Phil Giordano, who would later go on to direct such notable films as Gridiron Gang. He did 3 O'Clock High before this. He did State of Grace, Final Analysis. He wrote Flight of the Navigator under a pseudonym name, and he was mostly known for his music video directing. And the film overall is pretty much that. It's basically a concert with U2 when they were at their highest, probably their highest peak. I mean, nowadays we know them as the musicians that we know them now, but at the time they were the big draw. I mean, this was a big deal when this movie came out. And I've actually seen U2 movies, U2 concert films. I saw U2 3D about 15 years ago when that was in theaters, when everybody was trying to get on the 3D craze. They had a special screening of that, and I got to see it. It was actually cool to see a concert like that on the big screen in 3D. I mean, that was kind of a cool thing to do. And I enjoyed that probably a lot more than I like this film, which I don't think it's a bad film overall. It just feels like the concert footage wasn't as shot well as they probably wanted to. I mean, they got a lot of people hyped up for this movie. The marketing campaign for this movie looked incredible for the time period. I mean, I can't show you the full trailer for this, but it really did a good job of handling that. But here, when you actually watch the film, it didn't really do a whole lot to really show you what it felt like to be at a U2 concert. I mean, the U2 3D movie I was talking about did that so much better, and I think that's a far superior film. This one is not terrible per se, but it just didn't feel like it really needed that. It needed that effort, to, like in U2 3D, to actually give it a unique concert experience. But in this case, I think they were trying way too hard to figure out what kind of a direction they wanted to go. Did they want to just be a straight-up concert film? Did they want to be a documentary? It really didn't know exactly what level it wanted to take itself towards. But like I said, it's not a bad movie per se, but it definitely needed to be a whole lot better than it actually ended up being. Not a bad film, but certainly not a film that should live up to the expectations that they were hoping for back then. And actually, coincidentally, this thing actually was a critical failure for U2 back then, so they had to eventually reinvent themselves, and now we know them as what we know U2 now as they are now. So that was such a very interesting little time capsule for, like, right at U2's peak. They have this, it's a critical and financial failure for them, and then they basically become the U2 that we know them as today. It's a very interesting time capsule. I mean, it's the best thing I can say about it is that it's a very, very interesting time capsule. So that's U2 Rattle Hum. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Dennis Quaid and Jessica Lange in Everybody's All-American.
The moment he saw her, he knew he would love her forever. You are the luckiest man that ever lived. From Taylor Hackford, director of An Officer and a Gentleman, comes a truly great American love story. Jessica Lange, Dennis Quaid, Timothy Hutton. Everybody's All-American. Rated R. Starts Friday, November 4th at a theater near you.
So you have Dennis Quaid as this Louisiana football star who has it all. He's an All-American champion, marries his high school sweetheart, played by Jessica Lange, homecoming queen. He's a hero in his hometown, yet after a failed professional career, he realizes that fame and success have passed him by, and that he no longer is the hero everyone keeps reminding him he should still be. His dissatisfaction with life leads to strains in his marriage. He begins to wonder who he is, and if he's not a hero anymore. This is a story that, in a good movie, could be seen as a potentially really good, uplifting sports drama. I mean, how many draft busts have we seen in the last 25 years in the NFL that would make a story like this work? And here, they go for the schmaltz. They go for the really, really schmaltzy stuff. I mean, it doesn't really work out that well. The writing overall is not that good. The acting is okay. Jessica Lange, Dennis Quaid, they do their best here. Timothy Hutton, I think, is very good in here. John Goodman, Wayne Knight has a role in here. So does Patricia Clarkson. The film overall, I just feel like didn't really live up to what they thought it was going to be. It was a film that really, I feel like there could have been a whole lot more here, but it just kind of takes the predictable route. It's a movie that I feel like is trying to be very Oscar baitish. It's a film that's really trying its hardest to try to be the uplifting sports film that the Academy Awards just have to give Oscars to because of the people involved. But it doesn't really do that well. And Taylor Hackford's made a lot of better movies than this. This is not one of his better films. So definitely not one of his stronger films, and definitely not that great of a film overall. Even though it has a good premise to it, it just doesn't quite live up to the expectations that this should have. So kind of a disappointment, but everybody's All-American. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, and that is The Good Mother.
There are many kinds of love, but there are none that can compare to the love a mother has for her child.
How's Molly been? Adjusting to the divorce?
Being a good mother to Molly means the world to me. We're always doing things together. It's hard to describe how close we are, you know? She's really the only thing in my life.
Yeah.
So lately.
You don't fancy a cup of coffee, do you?
Oh, he's adorable. Are you picking me up?
I'm trying to.
I would have followed this guy home on my knees.
Anna Dunlap is a loving mother who's just discovered another kind of love.
Sex had nothing to do with it.
Suddenly we're going to make love as soon as we get back to my place.
Leo, this is Molly.
Hi, Molly.
I think she really likes you.
For Anna, life was finally complete. Then something happened that changed it all.
Where's Molly?
She's not coming back.
What are you talking about?
Ask your boyfriend. Why don't you just ask your boyfriend why I'm taking Molly away from you?
None of the down bit of truth in the whole
What are
thing.
you suggesting, Brian, that he did something wrong with Molly?
He did, Anna.
Well, he didn't.
You disapprove of what Mr. Cutter did.
Still saying this, man?
You disapprove of what you did.
Shouldn't be attacking
You
me.
haven't done anything wrong.
These judges are very conservative. They lump everything like that together.
You mean blame Leo?
What were the rules around Molly?
It was a mistake.
This court makes a condition of that custody that you give up your relationship with Mr. Cutter. What would your response be?
I'd take a rap everywhere else, but here with you, I want the truth.
I was coached on the answers.
The point here is to get Molly back.
I made a different kind of life for myself, Leo, with Molly. She is my commitment.
Can a court determine how we should live, how we should love, how we should raise our children? Now, Anna Dunlap must prove whether or not she is a good mother. Diane Keaton, the good mother.
Yeah, that trailer pulled a fast one on us, and boy, talk about a complete 360 from the last thing that Leonard Nimoy directed. Like I said, this was his follow-up to Three Men and a Baby, which was a huge hit the year before. Before that, he had done Star Trek For the Voyage Home. Leonard Nimoy had a range in terms of what he could do as a director, and this felt like another attempt of another movie that could be that, but needless to say, that did not work out so well. So you have Diane Keaton playing this Boston piano teacher who works part-time in a college laboratory, recently divorced from her husband, played by James Naughton, in the custody of her 6-year-old daughter, and soon Anna meets and falls in love with this guy, played by Liam Neeson, who's a sexually liberated Irish sculptor who changes her perspectives on life. But one day, her daughter sees Leo naked in the bathroom and asks if she can touch him, which he allows. And after Molly talks to Brian about his experience with Leo, Brian accuses Leo of sexually molesting Molly and sues Anna for custody of their daughter. Leo explains that he thought it was in keeping with Anna's parenting, since he had bathed with Molly and was very open with her. A counselor agrees that Leo should have known better, but he believes that Molly has been abused as a very well-adjusted and happy child, particularly with Anna and Leo. Despite this, the divorced husband wins custody, and the two of them end up with their relationship being ruined. So, sorry to spoil the movie for you, but this is not a good movie. This is a film that just has way too much going on and just doesn't have enough there to really make it work out as well as they want to. And they have a great cast overall. I mean, Ralph Bellamy's also in here, Jason Robards, Katie Seagal, Matt Damon's an extra in this film, Joe Morton is in here. And for Leonard Nimoy, it's an interesting idea to move into this next level of a directing career, even though you had made a sci-fi film before this and a comedy, straight-up comedy before this. Your attempt to enter the dramatic elements, this could have worked if the script had been a little bit more better and they just weren't out in the open. Like, nobody has a happy ending in here, and the movie sadly ends up becoming the TV movie of the week caliber type of ending. Like, it really ends like a bad TV movie of the week that made it to the big screen just because they got Diane Keaton in here, who was still a very prevalent star back then. But yeah, I expected so much more from this. I really thought there was going to be a lot more to it, but it just wasn't there. There wasn't really a whole lot there. And Nimoy's directing career kind of fell off after this. Like, he did Body Wars for Epcot, and then he did 2 comedies in the 90s, which were not great films. Funny About Love, Holy Matrimony, which has a premise that's also as ridiculous as this film is. But, I mean, Leonard Nimoy showed beforehand that he can direct. I mean, Star Trek 3, Star Trek 4, Three Men and a Baby, 3 of the biggest hits of the 80s, 3 films that people remember from the 1980s. I mean, those films held up much better. After that, not so much. Kind of definitely a disappointing film, considering the talent on board, considering the director they have. Should have been a whole lot better than it actually was. That's The Good Mother. So that's going to wrap up another time about the movie's Flashback. I'm looking ahead to next week, and we only got one movie to look at. We have Feds, which stars Rebecca De Mornay, and was one of the many attempts for Saturday Night Live stars after their success on the show to branch into a film career, because we have Mary Gross from the mid-'80s version of SNL. And it's the only movie we've got to look at next week, so that'll be a quick episode to look at, and we'll talk about that next time. But until then, thanks for watching this. If you want to see more of these Time About the Movies Flashback episodes, check out the playlist on the next page, and also a previous episode we did. And I will see you guys next time for another episode. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.